Got it.
It's all yours, Brian.
Oh my goodness. Okay. You know what? Y'all, I'm going to start this off with an amazing quote here from our dear friend Peter, who's here right now, talking about NAAP happy hour and what it means to him. Inspirational is but one word that comes to mind. My association with NAAP goes beyond its founding 4 years ago. I realized very early in my adoption discovery and my subsequent involvement in the founding of Adoptee Rights Australia Incorporated that the false adoption narrative was a worldwide phenomenon. Reaching out to the Indiana Adoptee Network, now NAAP, has been an undeniably positive experience. I have accessed so many adoption scenarios provided via the sharing of stories by people with lived experience. This has grown my knowledge exponentially, as well as my knowledge of self. Nice. I have witnessed how a great organization is run and how well Adoption Happy Hour is presented. Above all, I have established so many warm friendships with incredible people I would never have crossed paths with. Aw. The highlight was, of course, when Marcie asked if there was any way that I could attend Untangling Our Roots at Louisville, Kentucky last year. Well, maybe not so much asked as, can we count on your attendance? Wow, such an honor. Or, wow, such an honor. Did I get you right there, Peter? I was being counted on. I begged to borrow and almost had to steal to fund the trip. To be in the physical presence of so many of my peers was an overwhelming experience that has not faded nor will ever fade. Amen, Peter. That was beautiful. Thank you to everyone at NAAP. I am hesitant to name names for fear of leaving anyone out. I hear you. I am forever in your debt. Peter, that was beautiful. Here, 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 here. That makes me so happy. And that's fitting because this is happy hour, guys. Welcome. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Adoption Happy Hour brought to you by NAAP. We are the National Association of Adoptees and Parents, where it is our mission to unify the adoption community and elevate our diverse voices, all of our voices, y'all, by promoting dialogue, understanding, and healing through education, awareness, and connection. For those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Brian. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to see all your names and faces for this 4th anniversary celebration. Thank you for coming, everybody. Oh, yeah, some people already doing a pop in the chat where you're all from. Y'all, I am terrible at like doing Zoom things and reading chat at the same time. I'm horrible at it. So I apologize ahead of time if I miss anything. But Beth, you're on it, right? Beth is on it. Thank you, Beth. Yeah, say hi in the chat where you're from. Y'all, this is happy hour. This is like I said, Peter just made me so happy right there. And there are a lot of things that make me happy. And happy hour, I know we think of discounted drinks or whatever makes us happy. Having a bottle of wine, shot of whiskey, a bump of cocaine. Hey, I don't judge anything that makes you happy, but these are just fleeting happy things. But you know what really makes me happy? You're supposed to say, what makes you happy, Brian? So let me, okay. But you know what really makes me happy? I hear you through the music.
What makes you happy, Brian?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Thank you. What makes me happy is a space where I feel heard, where I feel seen, where I feel valued. And that's what this space is that Marcie and NAAP have created. So I'm so happy to be with all of you. You are all valued. I certainly hear you. I certainly see you. And I certainly support you from whatever your histories are, all your stories, all your diverse experiences. And that's what this group is for. So I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you. So today actually is the 4th anniversary, right? So I'm gonna actually, let's see. We have in 4 years, NAAP has had 296 events, programs, events, 296. Season 4 Happy Hour had 25 events with 1,584 attendees. Nice. 175 total happy hours over 4 seasons. And in season 4, 40 attendees made so far, season 4, 40 attendees made a donation through Eventbrite to support happy hour. So thank you so much for doing that and for supporting everybody. Marcie, do you want to share any big memories that stand out for you or anything? What's going on? I have my tea. This is my tea. Let's have a little chat. What's going on, Marcie? Tell me about yourself. We could be Kelly and who's with Kelly?
We've got a bourbon.
Okay. Oh, you got bourbon. Yeah, see, I have a tea. But tea makes me happy.
I want to do that, but I think right before we have our little chat,
yes,
we do have a couple little housekeeping items. I think.
Oh yeah, do that. Yes, I'm sorry. Do that.
Some little slides.
I just spilled my tea all on my computer.
Get it, Brian.
Oh, okay. Please remain on mute. Raise your hand on the screen or the virtual hand to be recognized. You may post your questions or comments in chat. I need to read all this? Is this what you need me to do? Y'all, welcome. This is a public meeting with no guarantee that information or identity is confidential. Even though people are freaking hiding our identities from us, huh? Can I get a amen for that? The fuck? Okay, portions of this event are recorded and may be shared in our private happy hour group on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. And you guys, if you're experiencing a serious mental health event, suicidal thought, who's giggling? Do we need to? I love it. If you're this one's serious though, y'all. If you're experiencing a serious mental health event or suicidal thoughts, please contact a licensed professional, which I am not, or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline by dialing 988. Thank you. Was that all right? Do you need me to say anything else regarding all that?
You did great. What's next, Beth?
We are just going to spend 1 minute talking about programming because while we have all you lovely people here, we want to let you know that next happy hour in 2 weeks, we will, Marcie will be featuring Monica Hall. You Are Not Your Past, The Importance of Sharing Your Story. Monica's memoir just launched in the last 2 weeks. She is going to be at the summit. She is going to be on a panel at the summit. But we wanted to let you know, and tickets are available at 7 o'clock tonight. They open. So later in the program, I will drop a link in where you can register for the next happy hour coming up in 2 weeks. And that's all we're going to bother with at the moment.
Okay. Back to us, Beth. Okay.
No bother,
no
bother.
Like Brian said, we're here to celebrate 4 years. We're getting ready to go into our 5th season. Can you believe it? So we want to just talk briefly a little bit about happy hour. But I think before I answer your question about certain things that happened in the last couple of years, some memories, I think Tina Brown sent in a perfect testimony, Brian, that would kind of wrap up. Yeah, don't you have a testimony from Tina Brown?
Okay. I will read Tina Brown's. Here's Tina. I found her. Okay. Timing. This is Tina talking, y'all. Timing can be a perfect disaster when discussing all things adoption, no doubt. And yet between my own adoptee, lost and found DNA, and what next, NAAP Happy Hour has been a welcoming place to hold space for impactful interviews, speakers, that have bravely shared from their own lived experiences, yes, and allowed questions as you would around a family table, sharing music, pictures, laughter, tears, fears, facts, and announcements for other ways to educate ourselves, connect, and stay in touch. The happy hour team has showed up under the weather from different locations, weathering various storms, power outages, and personal complexities that exist in the midst. Thank you all. You have left parts and pieces of yourselves to continue to reach and support others as they continue to come, show up, discover they are part of a community, even if they are just now discovering, examining personal truths. Happy hour is proof to not being alone in this. Yes, we are not alone in this. Amen, Tina. We are not alone. What became essential during the pandemic has continued as connections held and untangling our roots allowed real in-life meetings. So much has happened from a simple, what would it look like to meet virtually and talk about adoption? Anything is possible. Thanks, hugs. XOXO, hugs, kiss, Tina.
Love you, Tina. Thank you for that. And that was a great lead into what you were just saying earlier, Brian, about asking me about a little bit about happy hour and memories of that and how it unfolded. So I know we have some new people here this evening, so I just want to briefly touch on that as to how we ended up with a happy hour, right? And that developed from the pandemic, when in 2020 we were ready to all meet in person in Indianapolis. Everybody was paid for and ready. Their bags were packed, and boom, the pandemic hit. And the first thing we thought of was all of you. Okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to hold our community together? And this was in the days of no Zoom, or Zoom was just starting. I shouldn't say no Zoom, but we hadn't really done much at all. And I kept saying, how are we going to keep the community together? Because people were starting reunions. They were in the middle of reunions. We wanted to hold our community together. So I called on several people that I knew had helped us out with when we were formerly Indiana Adoptee Network, and said, let's meet on a Sunday afternoon and talk about some ways virtually that maybe we could come up with some kind of idea temporarily. That's the key word. It was only supposed to be for a little bit, and it's 2024. Here we are. But it was just a temporary fix to say, hey, we want to reach out to our community. How can we help you during this pandemic? And they came up with a lot of ideas were shared. I believe it was Lynn Grubb that actually came up with the name. And I know some people can't come here tonight because they're at the conference in the East Coast right now. But that's how it started out, was just one idea of getting us together virtually. Started out with 22 people, and then it just morphed from there. And here we are going into our 5th season. So one really simple idea turned into what we call now our signature program for NAAP.
Yeah.
All these voices to come together on Friday nights. And if you remember, Brian, the first 3 years we were in your living room or wherever you were watching us from every Friday night for 3 years. And then in the 4th season, we decided to get it down to twice a month. But that's how Adoptee Happy Hour came to be.
Yes. Started off as just a little seed, and it blossomed into this huge, beautiful flower of people that we see before us right now. I love it.
And we really thought at that time that, again, it was going to be temporary and that eventually there would be no happy hour. But because of you, all of you across the globe continued to show up, send text messages, send emails that you enjoyed the happy hours, gave us some ideas of who we could have as speakers. We've continued. I just want to share that a little bit with you.
I see we have a hand raised. Are we taking questions from the audience right now? Right
now, we really prefer to hold the questions until 8 o'clock so we can get through the program. So Susan, we see you, and we're going to hold that for now so we can get through our agenda.
Is that okay? We're not rejecting you, I promise. This is not a rejection, I promise.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you, that's all. Just thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you, sweetie.
Thank you. Thank you for being you.
But one of the funniest things that happened during happy hour
Yes, go
Beth had
on.
to remind me of this because I forgot all about it. Was we were having this huge happy hour one night, and I was trying to get online, and I had a new puppy, and
Oh,
my
yeah.
dog ate the cord, the charger to my computer. Remember, Beth, when we were talking about that? But
And so,
we came home. We
I
made it
think
happen.
the happy hour was actually announcing the new name of NAAP. So it was a big one. And
was
when
a
I
big
clicked on the recording, Marcie says, "We apologize for being so late. Thank you all for sticking around. You'll never believe what happened." And then
And
she
it
told
was
a story about the dog.
oh my gosh. Could you imagine if that happens tonight with your big reveal, Marcie?
yeah,
All right, everybody, here it comes. You're not going to believe what happened. We are experiencing technical difficulties, folks. Anyway, sorry. Did that work? Was that okay?
Oh, that was cute. That was
Okay.
cute.
Can you all see the sun coming in now? It's coming in. I'm basking in the glow. Any other memories that you want to share before we move forward?
There were so many. I mean, we've had pets. We've had some pet stories. Obviously, my dog and Murphy's barking, and Paige's kitty cat that used to walk right in front of the camera constantly. Paige, you're here with us, Brian.
Was a microphone accidentally left? It is happy hour, and some people may be drinking. Was a microphone ever accidentally left on while someone had to relieve themselves in the loo?
Well, I don't know if we had anyone relieve themselves, but we've had microphones on before, and we've had a few embarrassing moments, but we won't call anybody out. But we've had that happen, yes.
Oh, that's great.
But all in all, it's just been such a blessing to be able to have this program and see all of you and stay in touch and get to know one another and share stories and have fun. We've cried together, we've laughed together, and we continue to be here because of all of you. And we just wanted to say thank you, and we love and appreciate each one of you. And this happy hour has really come a long way in 4 years, and we're really excited about season 5.
Yes. Well, thank you, Marcie and Beth and Jen, for creating this, keeping it going. It's really an amazing thing that this space is created for all of us. And now we actually get to hold this space for you, Marcie. So that's how tonight's going to be quite special.
You do. It is.
Before we do that, before we move on, I'm going to read something that Louise has said for us here. And then, y'all, I'm going to introduce you to someone called Marcie after that. And then we will go on to what we will hold space for you, Marcie. So here's Louise, y'all. Happy hour and what it has meant for me. Not me, Brian, Louise. This is Louise talking. Finding NAAP's happy hour in 2020 was so helpful for me and my mom. I had found my family through DNA 1 to 2 years before. I was still a fogged adoptee, but starting to deal with what the pamphlet we all seem to have received subconsciously said about how adoption was good. What I was seeing or experiencing about adoption and how it affected me and my bio family was not reconciling for me. Finding other adoptees, listening to their stories, experiences, made me feel less alone and helped me reframe things. Good. Hearing from other birth moms showed me the pain and struggles they experienced, which really opened my eyes and gave me even more empathy and compassion for birth moms and adoptees. Oh, that was very sweet. Let's hear for all the mothers out there. We hear you and support you too. That was beautiful, Louise. Your weekly Zooms gave us community and connection. Amen. Because we're disconnected, Louise, right at birth. We're disconnected right away, and we're just looking for that connection. That's why this is so special.
I think there's
continuing on. Hold on. I've learned so much. What's that? Oh, I've learned so much by attending and participating. Getting out of the fog didn't take long for me after a few months of happy hours and adoptee Twitter. Thank you for hosting these and for bringing us together. Thank you for helping me understand what I experienced from adoption and for helping me to understand what my mom and what she experienced and what so many birth moms experienced. Thank you, Louise. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise.
Excellent. All right, y'all. Well, as I said, we're going to turn the table. We're going to hold space for Marcie right now. Beth, would you like to share your thing first? Did you want to do that first of all?
I can do that. Just a moment.
No worries.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Jennifer is popping in and out of our program tonight because she and her husband are on vacation. They're heading to a fabulous spot where they are going to film and photograph the eclipse, but she wanted to be sure to share a message with us tonight. So Marcie, congratulations on 4 years of Happy Hour. We never would have imagined when we met a decade ago working on legislation that we would start a nonprofit, host annual conferences, and thanks to a pandemic, begin offering weekly free online programs. We've traveled the country, celebrated your book launch, supported each other through loss, celebrated the good times and the surprises. I'm sad to miss Happy Hour tonight for your big reveal. It will be a great show. I'm proud of your achievement and resilience. Hugs and kisses, Jennifer.
Love you, Jennifer.
Well, thank you, Jen. That was sweet. That was sweet.
What a sweet surprise.
Okay, and good luck on your travels. I hope the family truckster is running well. It's a well-oiled machine for you and your hubby, and good luck. That sounds fun. All right, y'all, there is a woman named Marcie J. Keithley. What's the J, Marcie?
Oh, must I say it? Joe.
No pressure. No pressure. What?
Joe.
What is Joe? Marcie Joe Keithley? I love it. Marcie Joe. That's a great name. Marcie Joe. M. Joe. All right. Is an author, speaker, master storyteller, and co-founder of the National Association of Adoptees and Parents, NAAP. She retired as vice president of retail bank management at Merrill Lynch after serving the financial industry for over 32 years. I should maybe seek advice from you, Marcie. Or maybe you retired for a reason. Maybe I shouldn't. Just kidding. A first birth mom in Reunion since 2008. She co-founded Indiana Adoptee Network. I remember that. And testified multiple times throughout the years in support of OBC access for the sister organization HERE, Hoosier for Equal Access to Records, where she served as vice president. She also hosts the twice monthly Friday night virtual event, Adoption Happy Hour, with a global audience from across the adoption constellation. Keithley is the author of The Shoebox Effect, Transforming Pain into Fortitude and Purpose, and co-author of the children's book, Frankie and Friends Talk Adoption. She is a native Hoosier, proud one at that, I must add, and resides on the sunny side of Louisville, along the banks of the Ohio River in Indiana, owned by one sassy golden doodle Murphy. She enjoys spending time with her grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. The other ones, not so great. And is an avid cloud watcher, lover of Cali reggae, and always in search of the perfect margarita. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Marcie Joe Keithley.
Thank you, Brian. Hey, everybody. I'm so glad that all of you are here this evening. So many of my close friends, all these relationships that I've developed over.
Oh,
Is this, you could not make this happen.
I'm so excited to be with you this evening.
Wait, Marcie, you
And
froze.
I'm
You're not going
back,
to believe this.
right?
You froze,
Did any
Marcie.
of that right?
You froze. You need to start again. This is not scripted, everybody. That was amazing. Okay, go ahead, Mars. Are you frozen again?
Only on Zoom. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. No, I just thank you, Brian, for that beautiful introduction. Can you guys hear me okay?
No, you're ducking. We just heard you now, but then you ducked out. I don't know what's happening. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, my internet's going. It looks like my internet's going in and out. But can you hear me now? I'm watching
Yes.
it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go. Talk.
Yeah, I keep talking. Okay. I'm excited to be here. See so many of you show up this evening to hear about my continued story. So I think what I'd like to start off with is, Beth, you want to go ahead and roll it? And for those of you that don't know the first part of my story, I want to share just a few tidbits of that right now. So I am getting ready to reveal something that's big. My story is continuing and it's taken a huge twist, and we're going to learn a little bit about that right now. Okay, so what took place is this past fall, my brother, who lives in Cincinnati, his name is Butch, we call him Butch, and he asked me if I would take a DNA test. Now, my brother has been doing our family genealogy for maybe 25, 30 years. And he was always at family reunions. And when we'd get together, he would always say, oh, we learned something about a distant relative and they changed a cow for a pig and they met the Indian met this. And he's always telling all these wild stories. So he calls me one day. Can you still hear me okay? Somebody nod. And says to me, Marcie, now, of course, my DNA comes in and he said, this is my brother Butch in Cincinnati. Whoop, go back. There he is. Butch in Cincinnati.
No, this should be it.
Butch is a Cincy Reds fan and I'm a Dodgers fan. So we had gone to a Dodgers Reds game that day. But anyway, Butch asked me to do ancestry I did my heritage first. And he said, come on, I need to finish out the Keithley family tree. Let's get going on this. And I said, fine. The DNA came in. He calls me from Cincinnati and he says, what are you doing? And I said, I'm at work, but I'm going home. And he goes, I'm on my way to you. I need to talk to you about something very important. I immediately thought that Butch was sick or something was going on. I said, well, can't you tell me now? And he goes, no, I have to tell you in person. And I said, oh, okay. So he shows up and he sets me down on the sofa. Beth, I can't remember what the next slide is. Do we need to turn it yet? Okay. This was the date, 11/13/23, has a huge significance for me. He sets me down on the living room sofa. He gets right to the point and he holds my hands and he leans in and he goes, Marcie, I love you. I'm your brother. Listen to me. This is going to hurt, but I love you and we're going to be okay. But Daddy is not your father. Our dad is not your father. Let me say that again. I'm 68 years old. I've been in the adoption community for 15 years. I've listened to how many stories. And then I connected with Cara and Right to Know and learned about NPEs and MPEs and DCPs and assisted reproduction and all of this. And all of a sudden, guess what? Guess what I am, guys? That's the big reveal. I'm an NPE. It was one of those WTF moments I had again. I have an NPE. Can you believe that? I was in total shock. I cried. At first, I denied it. I totally denied it. I thought, oh, Butch doesn't know what he's talking about. I know the DNA angels. I know these people. They do this. They're professionals. My brother, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And he said, no, I do know what I'm talking about. So what do I do immediately when a crisis happens? I went to my community, which is Jennifer and Beth, the four of us who've been together for quite some time. And I called Jennifer and I said, I'm crying. I'm like, Jennifer, you're not going to believe this. And it was like, Butch had just left. And I called Jennifer. Jennifer got Beth on the line. She called Cara. Cara called the DNA Angels. And I'm just trying to wrap my whole mind around the fact that the father that raised me was not my father. Of course, Murphy is not my father. And for those of you that know a little bit about my story, I want to take it a step further on top of that. At 5 years old, my mother leaves the home and my father marries within a year. So that means I was raised by non-biological people for 68 years and never knew it. Now you would think, right? You would think that after all these years of community and attending conferences and doing workshops and in therapy and doing the work, that I would be prepared, that I would be able to handle that. And I was wrong. I was so wrong. It felt like I was sucker punched. It was all of a sudden, I'm not Marcie, but yet I am. And I'm not who I thought I was, but yes, I was. And Cara that evening, because I couldn't even sleep. I mean, I was sick to my stomach. I was so upset. Cara gave me the best advice. And she told me to stand in front of a mirror. Remember, Cara? And look at the mirror and tell myself all the things that I knew to be true. And that's how I kind of tried to recenter myself. But I was pretty much a basket case that evening. Okay, Beth, what do we have next? You had the picture of my parents up. I wanted to share a little bit about that. Okay, so immediately I think, okay, so how could this have happened? Well, we all know how it happened. So this is a picture, in the center is a picture of my now raised father and my mother, Mary. And again, what happens is my parents divorced when I'm 5. My father marries Marge Hannon, and my mother goes on to marry the gentleman on the right-hand side, who's my stepfather. And I hit the step-parent jackpot because both my stepmother, who raised me as her own, and my stepfather, who was in Indiana, my mother and my father, stepfather moved to Indianapolis. That's where they were living. And I'm at the bottom of the state. But I lucked out and had these amazing step-parents. So, I was just blessed. But it was very difficult that to be at such a tender age of 5 years old and have no mother and have no explanation, because back then those were the days of kiss don't tell, and there was no explanation. One day mommy's there, one day mommy's gone. And I didn't understand the depth of that trauma. I had no clue, obviously, about that. And this is me about that tender age of 5, and on one of Mom's visits. I only saw her 2 weeks in the summer from that point on, from the time she left the home. So in 1961, you can imagine what it was like. The times were like there were hardly any divorces back then. And single dads like my father, that just didn't happen, that you were raising. And it wasn't just me. I had 2 other siblings, an older sister, Judy, and my brother, Butch. So she had left 3 of us, and it was very, very difficult for me. And I had a lot of issues. So, okay, what's next? Excuse me. What do we have next, Beth? Okay, so as I said, when Jennifer and Beth and I were on the phone that evening on November 13th, we called, Jennifer got Cara on the line and reached out to DNA Angels. And I had met the DNA Angels a year ago in Louisville, Kentucky at the summit. And of course, she had the whole team reach out to me, and they did so on, I believe it was a Wednesday afternoon. So November 13th, and by the time I got to I know Beth and Jennifer tried to do a lot of work to help find my father, because obviously that's the first thing that I wanted to do, was to find my biological father. And Beth, you want to remember when I retested on Ancestry? That was the other thing my brother had me do is he said, I want you to test on Ancestry.com because it has the larger database. So that's when all this started. And Beth and Jennifer made a huge spreadsheet of all the names that came in and started to work that. And we're working diligently. I think Beth said the guys, they put in over like 20 hours. And it was just, I don't know, Beth, you could probably explain that because since you do this, but weigh in on that a little bit, what that was like.
I came across the guy early on, but I thought this is too easy. And I went around him and I came back to him and I went around him. And then she called DNA Angels and they went to him immediately and it was a done deal.
Yeah. And there was like 57,000 connections. Something crazy like that. It was just like unbelievable. And of course, all these names meant nothing to me. But I spoke with Laura Olmsted. I believe she's here this evening. Laura, you can wave and say hello from DNA Angels. And within, it was less than 24 hours. They had found my birth father. I found out who he was. And it was funny because that day I had just gone in to Ancestry and was just looking around and we were messaging. We were in a group message and she was sharing, all the people that were in there. And she said, did you peek? And I was like, why? I mean, there's something going on. I didn't know, right? And she goes, we're all excited here. We've found your biological father. I mean, it was that quick. I was so impressed. And then they gave me the name. Yeah, they gave me the name. And I was hoping that it would be, I don't know what I was hoping. I don't know how I felt other than I needed to know. And so what do we have next? Meet my father. So on 1/4/24, this is Dr. Marcus D. Steele Jr. He is from Hazard, Kentucky, and he was married at the time, and we're still trying to figure out how my mother at that time would have been home with 2 small children and no car, how she met this good-looking man. He looks like me, doesn't he? Or I look like him, right? Can you see it? I know. It's so cool. It's so surreal. I can't believe it. But anyway, he had passed away of heart disease in 1984. So sadly, I did not get to meet him. But finally, I had a name, finally had a face, something that I could connect to. And I think there's many MPEs here this evening that can feel free to use the chat bar, will relate to this. It was just all of a sudden something I was connected to. But I found an onslaught of emotions that I didn't even know existed. And one of them being, and maybe there's a word for it. Again, help me out, guys. But one of them was I was grieving for somebody I never met before, but who had created my life. And I found out I had 2 brothers that had sadly passed away from heart disease at a young age, but I still had 2 siblings, 1 brother and 1 sister still living. But again, I was going through the crying, the rage, the betrayal, the sadness, the WTF. I mean, what the hell? I'm 68. How could this be happening? How could my mother, who lived with me for 3 years, the last 3 years of her life, not share that with me? And we were so close. She even has sent her DNA, gave her DNA to my brother. She tested too. I mean, I was just lost, guys. I was just lost. I was broken. Again, if you knew my pre-story, which we'll talk about, I guess we kind of jumped ahead a little bit here, but I'd been through so much as a first mom, finding my daughter in 2008 and going into reunion and that being a big, epic failure. I mean, it was good for a while, but it just didn't last. And I was broken. I was sad. I was angry. I mean, all those emotions, but I had found, I got my groove back, so to speak, by this community. It was where I could go to a cub meeting, or I could sit with other moms and I could cry and I could share all the frustration of finding out the truth of my daughter's adoption, and that she was, I was solicited by my own personal physician, and then he takes my child and sells her. I find this out 30 years later, that he sold her to a couple he went to college with because it was supposed to be the better life. And I found my daughter on welfare with 5 kids and 5 different fathers and no high school education even. It was just a nightmare for me. And I had found the birth father first 30 years later and married him. And we went on this journey and found her together. And you would think that this would be this happy story, but it all just was, no, it was bad. So I thought I had healed through that. I thought I had worked through all of that, and I found this community, and I found others in the same place that I was, but I was able to go to these meetings and co-found organizations to help others, because I couldn't save my daughter, and that was one thing I learned in therapy. I can only save myself. And things happen to us that are not our fault. But our healing, that's our responsibility. It's not we can't dwell in the past, or we can't change the past. But what we can do is we can start our own journey of healing, right? That's our job. That's our responsibility. So I focused on that. And between that and assisting with testifying with some of the other moms, with learning about the adoption. I mean, I didn't know anybody when I first started. I didn't know what my daughter had experienced being relinquished. I had no clue. But it was through this community and through crossing over. I mean, I didn't stay just in a group of moms. I had to be immersed in the adoption community with all of you that are adoptees to learn and to understand. And that's what brought me here. And that's pretty much what saved my life, was this community. And I can't thank you all enough. And when I discovered what happened on November 13th, so many people that are here with me this evening, you don't know what you've done for me. The texts, the phone calls, the love that was sent, because some of you knew about this ahead of time. If I didn't have you, I don't know what I would have done. And that's why we have to keep going. That's why we have to keep doing the work. That's why we have to keep sharing our stories. That's why we have to keep moving forward. That's why we have to show up in Untangling Our Roots, or the conferences out east, or Cub, or AKA, or whatever it is. We have to keep going. We have to keep moving forward. We've got to put one foot in front of the other. We've got to keep sharing our story, no matter how many times we say it. It gives inspiration to the next person who's staying quiet, who's thinking, oh, it's only me. It's just only me. It's not only you. This is what this community has done for all of us. It's given back tenfold. And we just have to continue to show up. What else do we have, Beth? I know I'm hopping around. It never goes in the order that you want it to.
We have Florida.
Oh, yeah, I have to tell you what happened. Okay. So, yeah. So here I am. I've got this news, and I'm talking like a crazy woman. Okay. I'm like, okay, when Laura shared all this information about my family, nobody was on social media, number one. That was driving me crazy. I had no face to put, where's my father? He was a doctor. So why can't I find a picture? I was going crazy. So a dear and special person to me, a really good friend of mine, said to me, I was on the phone with him and I kept saying, I'm going to go to Frankfort, Kentucky. I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to go over to Lexington and check on it. Then I'm going to drive down to Bowling Green. Then I'm going to go up over to the other side and then go down to the Hazard. And then he goes, Marcie, listen to the sound of my voice. Stop talking. Stop talking. And just listen to me. You're not going to do any of those things. You know what you're going to do? You're going to, when we hang up, you're going to get a ticket and you're going to go to Florida. I want to see you on the beach with your toes in the sand. I want sun on your face. I want you to be in this moment of reflection, and I want you to take care of yourself. And I want you to think about this. And while you're down there, do not text me. Do not send me any pictures. Do not call me. You don't want to share anything. I want you to take care of you. So you can see my toes were in the sand over here. I got sun on my face. And this is where I was staying. It was beautiful. Went down to Miami. I flew to Miami and went on to the Keys. But he gave me this advice and he said, this is what you need to do for you. So I took that advice and I flew from Nashville, where he was, down to Miami and then on to the Keys. But guess what happened on the way to the Keys? And that's where I need. Okay, so this is what I did. I got up in the morning and before the sun rose, and I grabbed my cell phone, which I wasn't supposed to be looking at, and my coffee, and I went down, and that's what I did. It was cool in those mornings. I watched the sun come up, and I cried, and I prayed, talked to myself, and whatever I could do to get centered, right, to get grounded, to get Marcie back where she was before. This is what I did every morning, the whole time I was down there. And it was very, very peaceful. But this is what I'm still in, I'm south of Florida, headed towards the Keys. We were staying in a condo with a good friend of mine. So we decided to go on down to the Keys because part of this was I wanted to be down at mile 0 to see the sunrise. You know how beautiful that is in Key West, all the way down to mile 0. I was like, oh, I got to be there, right? So we're in the car driving to the Keys, and this happens. Another WTF moment. You are not going to believe what happened. So remember, my very special friend said to me, do not look at your phone. If you get a notification or a text, don't answer it. Well, I got a ding on my phone. I got a notification, and it was a Facebook message. And I broke the rule, and I looked at it. And it was a young lady in her 50s, early 50s. And she said, you don't know me, but my name is. And my mother just passed away from cancer. And she said she left me a letter. And in the letter, she told me that my dad that raised me was not my dad. Now, okay, that's a coincidence, right? Because I'm just experiencing, I'm going down here to center myself and to collect my thoughts. But then she said this. She said, and I pretty much know who he is. He's your ex-husband. I went, what? She said, he is my, the letter says that, and I won't say his name, but everybody knows that's read my book, but he is my birth father. And I wondered if you would help me to communicate with him. Does he know about me? She started crying. Well, of course, what was I going to do? I mean, I had to take a phone call. So we messaged for a few minutes. I had to call her. And I said, who is your mother? And when she told me, then I knew that it was true because he had shared that with me when we were young, because we went together when we were kids, when I was just 18 years old. And he had told me then that he thought he had fathered a child and blah, blah, blah. So I knew it to be true. What are the odds of that happening right then, right after mine, when I was not supposed to even be looking at my phone? Okay. Yeah. Hit the chat room up. Give me some thoughts here. I mean, what are the odds? Okay. Are y'all still with me? Unbelievable. Okay, Beth, what do I have next?
Birthday.
Oh, okay. So yeah. All right. So this is I'm in Miami and it was my birthday weekend. So my Italian friend, two friends, they had, this is at their restaurant that they had this big birthday party for me. And, you know, you can see the cake and the Corona, and it was just a really good time. But there was something really different about this birthday, right? Because on my birthday, I mean, I had a name of my biological father. I knew I had a brother and a sister. I had their names, but I didn't have any way of finding them. And I was just kind of lost. Like I had to have some kind of finality. I mean, there had to be something where I could keep moving forward. And then I started feeling guilty because I thought of, you know, the adoption community. How many decades have you guys searched for your roots to find out who you were? I mean, at least I had half of me, right? My mother's side, I knew that. But then I got to thinking about all of you, and I'm like, what the fuck? You guys don't have anything. And here I am bitching because I found out, and then the DNA angels found my father in what, just 24 hours. And I needed to, you know, really back up and think about this. But this birthday felt totally different. And then I was thinking about all the adoptees that I knew and how many birthdays they experienced, and they didn't know anything. And I thought, you know, from being in the community as long as I had, that I really got that, and I understood it, and I had empathy and compassion. But it wasn't until I got sucker punched by an MPE that it finally hit home. And I was telling Beth and Jen about, it made me almost ashamed that I had walked around all these years thinking I understood you. And maybe, you know, a friend of mine, Eileen, you mentioned that to me about I need to give myself a little bit of grace here. But I had to really back up and think about that. And it made me realize just exactly what a relinquished adoptee experienced. And I never, you know, it was just that moment that I totally got it. That birthday was different for me. Okay, so now I'm home from Florida. I've done my reflection. I've had the sun on my face. I've had the toes in the sand. I have my biological father's name. I know I have a brother. I know I have a sister. I know my on that side of my family, I have we're from the Appalachian Mountains in the deep part of Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky. I know all these things. So I'm home now, right? Right? So it's time to do something. What is it? So you know what I did for 2 weeks? I was in the fetal position in my bed, crying my eyes out. So much for Florida. I was still a mess. And Lorraine Dusky was on me constantly. And she said, have you met your sister yet? Have you met your brother yet? Have you made the phone call? What are you waiting on? Talking to me. I didn't know what I was waiting on, but I knew one thing from my experience. I was scared I was going to be rejected. I was scared I was not going to be told anything other than hear the click of the sound of a hang up, or you're crazy, or we don't care, or whatever it is. We don't want to believe it. We're in denial. Whatever it was, I felt that terror of making a phone call. And I thought, maybe I should send an email. Maybe I should write a letter. Maybe. And I played all these scenarios out in my head. And I thought, you've got this one shot, Marcie. You've got this one shot. And if you blow it, that could be it for you. So I did nothing, thinking that I don't know what I expected, right? Because if I did nothing, nothing was going to change. They didn't know me at all. So again, Lorraine's calling me, you need to make that phone call. Marcie, you need to make that phone. No, don't write a letter. No, don't send an email. Marcie, you need to make that phone. I said, well, how can I do that? He's a professional. He's also a doctor. I can't make a phone call. I don't want to disrupt his business, but yet I did everything. I got a membership on Spokio and tried to do all the phone numbers and I did everything that I could, but I couldn't find a number. I had his address. I could have showed up at his house. And in that one moment when my friend told me to stop talking, I had talked about just showing up at the house like a crazy person. It was like, no. But I had his place of business, and Lorraine convinced me that to do nothing, I would receive nothing. And that I needed to reach out. I had done nothing wrong. This was done to me. And I'm just as shocked as they're going to be, right? So I picked up the phone on a Wednesday afternoon. I knew his office closed at 5 o'clock. I called him at 4:45. The receptionist answered and said, what is this in regards to? And I had 2 pages of notes in front of me. I was ready. I was ready. And I said, would you just please let him know he doesn't know me, but it's concerning a very important family matter. He called me at 5 o'clock. As soon as he closed, he called me. And I tried to get out a lot very quickly because I just had this feeling that if I didn't get it all out, that I might not get a second chance. So I started talking very quickly, but I gave him a lot of information. And he just kept going, what, are you saying you're my sister? Over and over again. And he was just, just shocked. And I said, I knew it was true, but I didn't want to say it at this point in the conversation. So I, basically said, really the only way to confirm that would be to have you do your DNA and we can confirm that. Is that something that you would be interested in? I'd be happy to pay for the kit. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He kind of changed the conversation. But at first he was just like, so in shock. I really thought he was going to hang up on me. And then he said this. He goes, you seem like a nice young lady and you have something to say. I think I'm going to be quiet and sit back and let you talk. Tell me everything that you know. So he gave me that opportunity. And of course I didn't. I told him everything that I knew and dates and how this all could have happened. And obviously he said he was going to Google me and stalk me and all that. That's fine. He told me about the fact that that there was another sibling, my sister. He also said, I'd shared a picture of me. So there wasn't any denying it by looking at it. But anyway, he told me about my sister and he said, I'm going to call her tonight and we'll get back with you. So I was like, okay, it ended pretty good. We were joking at the end of it. It was just like, it was moving along. And I thought, oh, this is going to be great. Everything's going to be fine. And then they didn't call me the next day. And I thought, oh my God, they're going to ghost me. They're going to ghost me. That's it. They've decided that they're, she's a wackadoodle, or either I was a wackadoodle or they just didn't want to have anything to do with me. But so that the following day was, remember when all the cell phones weren't working that day? Everybody, the phones were all dead. Yes, no. At least they were out here. So I got to thinking, you know what? If the cell phones aren't working, that means that everybody's on Facebook Messenger communicating because they can't text. So I looked and there was nothing there. She hadn't sent me a friend request, but I knew she knew. So he was going to call her that night. So I sent her a friend request and then I very carefully crafted a message to her. Sister to sister from my heart. And only someone who had a stone there where it should be a heart would, So she had to respond. And she did very quickly. And she said, yes, I want to talk to you. Give me 15 minutes. And she gave me her phone number. So after I almost threw up and had to go get a drink and settle my nerves, we talked for 2 hours. And she goes, I believe it. I believe it without DNA. I've seen you. I've seen the pictures of you. The dates match. You know, she's the oldest in the family. So that was a little awkward too, because my sister Karen is the oldest, and then me, and then I am 3 months older than my brother. Okay, guys, do the math on that one. So he was a little, yeah, that was a little uncomfortable moment, but we got through that. But anyway, we had this amazing conversation, and I asked her the same question that I asked my brother and about DNA, and she said, yes, I'll do it. So I ordered her a kit, and that was March the 3rd. She sent it off. And it's funny because we both said, it doesn't matter if the DNA comes in or not. She goes, I'm keeping you. I am keeping you. And it reminded me of Ghost Kingdom, Brian, when about possible cysts, and how you felt about possible cysts and all those emotions that you went through. I mean, I remember I was thinking that. I was like, oh my God, this must what it feels like, right? Or could feel like. But the DNA came in on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, which we already knew that it was, that she was my sister, and we cried, and it was a great moment. And she told me that she went to the cemetery and that she, well, we won't talk about that in the first part, but she went to the cemetery and she said that she talked to our father, and she said, if you didn't do anything right, you gave me a baby sister. So thank you, Dad. And so I'm going to be meeting her a week from today. I'm going to Hazard, Kentucky. I just met her daughter, Darby, Wednesday night in Richmond, Kentucky. She and her husband play guitar, and they sang, and they had an amateur night. So I went with a friend of mine. He took me down there, and we just had the best time. And so I have this whole new family that wants me, and they've accepted me, and they want to show me family history. I even have a great grandmother named Pocahontas. Do you believe that? They called her Pokey. Pocahontas. Yes, I have some Native American. I mean, it's just, I don't know what to say except, can you still hear me? Oh, I got a little red button over here. So I was just wondering if I was losing my signal again. But I got to talking about Beth and Jennifer. I talked to Carr about this, and I said, you know, I just kind of like to come out to my community. And I don't know if anybody's ever done that before, and just share exactly what I went through. And many of you have already experienced this, and maybe many of you are getting ready to, and what worked for me and what didn't. So we're going to share that, but I know I ran over a little bit, Beth. So we do want to give it time for questions, right? Before we
do you want moment number 3?
No, actually we're going to scratch that one because that's not my story to tell yet, but that's coming. But yeah, this is a question. Will you be ready when someone else's shoebox lands in your lap? Because I personally had thought that by writing my book, if many of you have read it, it's called The Shoebox Effect, and I had dealt with all this, but it was a lesson for me that, you know, our stories are never done. They're never completed. There's never, it's a journey. It's not, there's no final destination. Our stories, they transition, they evolve, they ebb, they flow. But who would have thought, right? I mean, come on, me? Couldn't believe it. So that's a question I want to ask you. If you haven't done your DNA, maybe you should. Because you might get a DNA surprise as well. What's next, Beth? Oh, okay. We get back to healing and community. And this is where I just want to go back to this. This was the last year. And these are some of the pictures that, well, 2 of these pictures I picked out because Brian, you know, you were showing me the love last year, you know, so we got a good picture of us, but I wanted to share something. There's Peter and Renee and Paige and Amber, and I can't see who's behind Amber because I don't have my glasses on. But these were some at last year in Louisville, Kentucky. But the gentleman on the right, I didn't know this man. And he walked up to me and he said, "Are you Marcie Keithley?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "My name is Jeff." I can't remember your last name, Jeff. Forgive me. And he said, "Can I hug you?" And I said, "Well, sure, you can hug me. I'm a hugger." And he hugged me. He said, "I want you to know that I just read your book a while back." And he's from Canada. And he says, "I'm here because of you." And it just really hit me because we don't know, right, the ripple effect of sharing our story, whether it's through writing a book, whether it's a blog post, whether it's making a film during pandemic like Brian, whether it's through music like Zara Phillips. I mean, we don't know, right? We don't know the ripple effect of that. But that's the important part, is that we keep doing it. And how we come together and how we heal is through our community, by attending events, conferences. Untangling Our Roots was the first one was last year in Louisville, Kentucky. And now it's in Denver this year, right? If you're going to Untangling Our Roots, put it in the chat room. If you're not, why not? There's still time to register, right, Cara? Time to register. You can still make flight arrangements. You can still get there. You can still buy a t-shirt. You can still find a roommate.
And Marcie, we were talking, I think, this crossover in all the communities is so important because we can support ourselves in ways and gain understanding that we don't know about, that we thought we would open back up to sort of honor you and do a $50 discount on the tickets for the weekend. So the code is Marcie50. And so if you get a regular price ticket, just type in the code Marcie50 and you'll get $50 off if you haven't yet bought your ticket.
Oh, how sweet and thoughtful.
Fabulous. I want to see all of you there. I'm so excited. It's going to be so much.
Brian's going to be there.
I'll be there.
The MC.
I don't know what I'm doing. We got to talk about it. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's great.
Okay.
It's in April, and the root word of April is to open, right? Because the buds open, buds of flowers and blooming, and we'll just be all together supporting each other with open hearts, open minds, open arms. And it'll be a perfect time. It's going to be a great weekend. I look forward to it.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Cara. I would like to take a couple of questions before we do a little wrap up. I've got some takeaways, and I'm going to share one thing for you before we close for the evening. So it's already, oh my gosh, you're right. Time just gets away when you tell your story, right? Try to stay on track. Okay. Okay.
Jen Matthews, go ahead.
Jen.
Hi, Marcie.
Hi.
I just wanted to say welcome to the emotional roller coaster.
Thank you, baby. Yes.
It's a hell of a ride.
Yes. But look at all the people that we can ride with.
Yeah, definitely.
We're not alone. Thank you. It's good to see you here tonight.
And caller, do you have a question, or was that just a comment? Is that all? Okay. Thank you, Jen. Anybody else?
Just finished recording a podcast episode. I'm talked out. I just wanted to say.
You're fabulous. All good. Thank you, Jen.
Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, I do. I have a question. Susan here. So, I love how, I think that's the next book, is all the coincidences, because mine also was a coincidence, finding a guy named Jack from no information where somebody that knew died. But now that you did all that, do you just, do you have this, sorry, I have a dog that's about ready we just got home, it's got to eat. Do you have this faith that you've been carried, like it was all meant to be or something? When I found my birth dad and he said, that's 1 in a million, I wouldn't have bet on that. He was a gambler. I started to look back over my life that, I'm kind of glad I was adopted. I don't think I would have done well in that family. And, just started looking at like all these coincidences, and I struggle with God. I really didn't grow up in a religion, but my life, I was in a car accident and I stood 43 seconds. When I moved back to my car, that's where the semi hit and the guy dies. I mean, just over and over, I look back in my life, and I see all these. I got sober by falling apart in the streets and going and applying for nun and a job at a nunnery. And the nun that knew about alcoholism was there at 10 o'clock at night, receiving my, whatever that was, my application. I mean, I've been to that nunnery so many times. There's 63. It was a coincidence. She never does that. It's weird. I could have got another nun that would have just said, bye, have a nice day. But I got the one that knew something about what was wrong with me. And it's just over and over in my life now that I see that.
Answer that for you, Susan. Yeah, I can answer that for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I did question the timing of it. And once I was able to get a hold of my emotional state and look at it, it was like all of this, the last 15 years of my life in the adoption community, finding my daughter, going through reunion, legislation, meeting all of you, workshops, all that. It had all prepared me for this. I mean, it was, I believe, yes, I believe that I was just being prepared at the same time. And I just happen to have a voice that I can use. So, yes.
Absolutely. You have this great community that you actually help create too. And we're all here for you.
That's right. Yep.
So cool.
And one more thing, I got to film my extra ticket, but I didn't register for Friday. So I want to register for Friday. So if I go back in there and I do Marcie, MARCIE 50, it will help me, right?
You can talk to us,
right or no?
Susan, you can talk to us afterwards. We'll help you with that, okay?
Thank you. We'll go to Nancy. Nancy.
Hi,
go.
Nancy.
Hey, Marcie. So happy for you and hanging on to every word. And, I think we can all relate in so many ways. But my question for you is, are you documenting this journey?
Oh, yes.
Good.
Good question. Yeah, it's funny because I made this folder the night that my brother was here, and I started making, I was all these notes and all these feelings that I had, and then I started, and then, yes, I've been journaling and a lot and taking a lot of notes, and I already have with the help of my special friend, I really have a good friend of mine. I already have a book title in my head, and I've got a direction, but obviously it's not going to be for a while because the whole story has to unfold, right? We just got the tip of it.
It's happening. You're living it right now.
I just hope it's not going to be another 10 years like the shoebox effect. I can't go through taking 10 years to write another book. Thanks,
Just
Nancy. Love you.
breathe and live through it, Marcie. Just live through it. You're okay, right? Yes, let's go to Laura.
Let me unmute. So Marcie, I was waiting for you to drop the other shoe and say that when Marcus's daughter tested, she wasn't a DNA match, meaning she would be an NPE, because I can't tell you how many times that has happened in our organization where we have somebody target test to prove that someone's a dad and they turn out being an NPE and their dad wasn't their dad. So I'm just so glad that worked out for you.
Well, thank you, but I can't say anything, but there's more to that.
Oh,
it's not my story to tell, but there's more coming. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, it happens. It's kind of a natural progression.
Yeah.
All unfolding.
I also wanted to point out, I don't know if anybody noticed, but her biological dad's name, I don't know if you said it. You did.
I didn't talk about that. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say it's the first thing that I noticed when we identified your dad is his name is Marcus. And I really believe that your mom named you after Marcus. You are a Marcie. It's kind of like the female version, but that's just my takeaway.
Yeah. And we're going to go with that because it does feel good.
I think it's beautiful. You want to make lemonade out of lemons, right? And I just think it's beautiful, and it would be a nice coincidence if that were true.
And I appreciate you and your team so much, Laura.
No problem. Heidi's here too, and she was my partner
Heidi
on that team.
Yes. Hi, Heidi.
She said she's not coming on camera. She's not camera ready.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Peter. Hi, Peter. Go ahead and unmute yourself. We still can't hear you, Peter. Oh, no. Oh, do you maybe want to type it in the chat? We can't hear you. Oh, sorry, Peter. Maybe type it in the chat. Okay. Let's go to Lordu. What? Yeah, go ahead.
Is that Lorraine? That's
Is
Lorraine.
it
It's Dusty.
Lorraine? Oh, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, Marcia, I came in late because I think you know today is my daughter's birthday, and
Yes.
it's been kind of a bummed out day for me. But listening to you has like really lifted my heart. I mean, I was actually having dinner with my husband, and he said, "Aren't you supposed to be somewhere?" Because I had told him earlier, dinner is. I mean, this is right. It's 8:30 now almost, and you know we were having pizza because we were having our kitchen painted. So, which I mean, I was just heating up pizza from the pizzeria. And so I ran up and I was finishing my wine here. But I also wanted to say, I mean, really, you just cheered me up because I got here in time to hear you talk about how I was like, when are you going to make that phone call?
Yes.
Because you were just so scared.
I was frozen.
And
I was frozen.
yeah, so it's really made me feel good. And the other thing, because it is my daughter's birthday, and I don't know, we didn't discuss this before, but I would like to like send somebody who's here tonight a copy of my book. I mean, it's not
Okay.
like a
That would be
joyful
great.
thing. So, you know, you figure out how it's done. I guess it's done by numbers or something, but you know, you deal with it. And you know,
Thank you,
Marcie,
Lorraine.
coming to the conference where you invited me to come to Indianapolis, and I mean, we met when we were having pizza, I think, in the side room, and it was just, you know, I just feel like you are I mean, feel so close to you, even though we are so far apart and we've only seen each other a couple of times. And I love you, and I love that I met you, and I love that you became a part of my life.
I love you too, sweetie. Yes, I feel the same way. We're fortunate. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming on tonight. And my heart's with you. I know what today
I
is.
would not have missed it. I'm sorry I missed part of it though. Okay, bye-bye.
I didn't forget you. Thank you, babe.
That was so sweet, Lorraine. You guys, all this community just warms my heart. Keith, brother, I see you. Unmute.
Hey! Oh my goodness.
Hey, Marcie. Yeah, no, I had to be here for the 4th anniversary. So, yeah. So, are you thinking back about any things from growing up with your father that raised you that certain things that you might have thought you were similar to with him, but now thinking back, like there wasn't quite a connect there?
Yes.
Are you starting having any of those moments?
Oh, yes. I had a lot of those moments. Like, I can remember my father saying over and over again, like, I don't know where you get that from. Where did those legs come from? I mean, you're not like any of your siblings. You know, he would talk about that all the time. And it was, the Keithleys were short. They're all short, dark hair, dark eyes. I'm blonde, green eyes. I'm tall. Yeah, I got that all the time. Where, I don't even know you. I remember that. And I remember some things not so nice either, but that's a whole nother conversation as far as did he know, or we think my brother remembers the argument, that so he knows that my brother believes that both my dad and my mother knew. They couldn't be certain back then, obviously in the mid 50s, they couldn't be sure. But I'm knowing my father, if there was 1% chance I was his, he wasn't going to let her go. So I think that that night that Marcus was there at the house, and there was a big fight that everybody knew. And then she stayed with my raised father. And by the time I was 5, they looked at me and it was like, and I don't look like a Keithley, but I never connected it. And interesting enough, it kind of upsets me when I think about that, because if she knew that I was Marcus's child, that means that she left me. Yeah, and I had a whole bunch of feelings about that. It's like, then that means she left me with a man that I wasn't biologically related to. I mean, a lot of stuff there that I had to process. I'm still processing, but I just, all these scenarios keep coming up my head. Maybe they both didn't know. Maybe mom, but then, we talk about moms from, the 60s that are still in denial today, that they come up with an idea in their head and they make themselves believe it and they live the lie. Maybe that's what happened here. I don't know. We're never going to know. But yes, I experienced that. And look back at these memories. But the one thing he said to me that was really cruel, that really made, and I didn't get it as a child, but he would say, you should be grateful that you have me. You could be in foster care.
Damn.
That was pretty cruel. And he said it more than one time. And I was
awful.
Like, the first time he told me, I was like 7. I didn't even know what foster care was. Why are you saying ward of the court? I remember hearing that. You could be you're a ward of the court. What?
I'm so sorry to hear that.
But thank you.
Wow.
It's good to see you tonight. No, thank you for coming here. You've always been a part of Happy Hour.
Yeah, definitely, Keith. Good to see you. Hey, y'all, we're just going to take a quick detour because we have kind of a quick emergency, but that's what this group is for. Our dear friend, then we'll wrap it up with Peter after this, but our dear friend Erica is in need of our open arms. Yes. That's what this is for. So let's give her the space real quick right here. Go ahead, Erica.
Erica, hi, sweetie.
A second, because I'm not used to being this vulnerable. But what I do want to say is that I appreciate this community. And I really do appreciate you guys. I recently lost my mother, my adoptive mother, but the only mother that raised me. This is the same mother that some of the things that you guys have said, as far as this is where a lot of my trauma came from, and I never got a I'm sorry or anything like that. But what I can say is that forgiveness is everything. Whoever it is that who has broke your heart, whether it be your parents, if you don't get that from anyone, you got to get it yourself. You can't search for somebody to give you something that is already yours. No matter if they hurt you physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. Don't go searching for somebody who's never going to give that to you, because I never got that from the mother that I just saw passed right in front of me. So I love you guys. I've been planning a funeral, dealing with people's personalities and just all kinds of stuff. So I love you guys dearly. My father is here staying with me, trying to make sure he's okay, trying to get my life together. And please believe, whenever I am done with this grieving, there will be another book.
Okay. And I'm so sorry to hear about the passing of your mom. We love you, Erica.
I love you guys. Very sorry I'm not my normal hi.
That's okay. That's okay. We're just glad you're here.
Yeah. So love you guys very much. And I am going to do my very best to be there in, I think, Denver. So yeah.
We'll see you then, babe.
Love you, Erica. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we're all here for you. So don't ever hesitate to reach out to any one of us. Be kind to yourself. I know how busy you are all the time. You're always doing stuff for other people, but be kind to yourself and treat yourself well. Yes. and allow us and your community and people who love you to hold you for a little bit. Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, we'll get back. And Peter, Peter, you can wrap up the
Last
Q&A
question.
session here. Yeah, I hear you.
How do I follow that? That was so heartfelt. I don't know how I could do that justice. I just want to say that the beginning of this and the privilege that to be here and be amongst you all and be part of Marcie's story and as it's unfolding. And I did write something in the chat. I related to Marcie when you said about basically standing in someone else's shoes. And I found myself standing in someone else's shoes when I was first discovering my discovery. I DNA matched with what I then found out sometime later was my sister. And I thought I was being empathetic, and because she thought she was adopted. And once I realised I was, it was a whole different ballgame. So, I can only empathise with you. And, as I said somewhere else in the chat, hold your hand on this roller coaster. This roller coaster keeps stopping to let on more passengers, but I didn't expect we're going to be letting on you.
And thank you, Peter. Thank you for being a part of this community, and we love you, and we appreciate everything that you do in the adoption community.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
the privilege
Peter.
is mine.
Always good to see your friendly face. Always good to see your friendly face. All right. Marcie, do you have any closing remarks as far as your presentation goes before we?
I do. Actually, what I'd like to do, I think there's one slide that Beth's going to pop up. What I'd like to do is I just wanted to leave something with you. I made a little checklist of a couple of things. Beth, if you could put that one slide up. I'll talk about that. And then one after that one. Okay. So these were just kind of my takeaways from my experience, how important journaling is. Journal. You can never write enough. Something I did is I made a gratitude list of everything that I was grateful for in my life. And I thanked the universe for my life. I do that almost every morning now. I made a music playlist, which we're going to end on a song in just a second. And grief appointments. I think we've talked about this in a happy hour before, but they really are important to me. Grief, we know it comes and goes at all times, and we don't have control of it. But sometimes when you do have control of it, when you make the time to say, for me, what I do is I make a grief appointment. I hit the tub with my lemon ginger tea and a lit candle, and I bawl my eyes out, and I talk aloud, and I grieve. I take the time to grieve. So you don't have to wait till it sneaks up on you. Get ahead of it and plan it. And however you grieve, choose that moment. Also, finding simple, joyful moments in life. Well, one thing that I've done in the last couple of months is I do a lot of cloud watching, and I found it to be really, really, it is simple, but it's joyful. It brings me joy. It's very relaxing. And I've joined a little Facebook group where we're cloud watching. And always a reminder to love yourself. And sometimes we're just not kind to ourselves. We worry about everybody else, but what's going on with us? And it's not selfish to take care of oneself. It's self-full. That's what we should do. It's self-full to love ourselves. And you might remember me mentioning about in my journey, one thing, all I knew at the time when I was transitioning through all this and learning was I just kept saying, you just got to keep going. You just got to keep moving forward. So in my music playlist, I came across a song. It was called Move Forward. And I want to play it for you. We got to stop the recording so we don't have any copyright issues. But it's just a little California reggae music that I love. But it's very simple. And I think all of us can relate to this song. And then in closing, we are also going to be showing you some names of all of our wonderful, wonderful guests that we've had throughout the years. I love all of you, and I'm so thankful for this platform. I'm thankful to be here all these years and to listen to your stories and hold space for you. So we hope you'll come back. We hope to see you in Denver. And if you've got any ideas of speakers or events or anything that we can do, you know, to elevate happy hour, I'm all ears. Just email me. But we will be back. What's the date, Beth?
19th.
The 19th of April. Brian, thank you for.
Yes, but Marcie, you know, you even said like you're holding space for others, and it takes courage to be held, to receive. It's hard for us to receive. You know, sometimes we always want to give and give and give, and it's beautiful. It's just like Erica, who just gives and gives and gives, and you and all of us. But to receive, like to really receive, and to share ourselves and be vulnerable and to receive it takes a lot. So thank you. And thank you for all of you who share your own stories and your own selves. It's very beautiful. Before we stop recording, let me get this last testimonial in.
Yes.
From Linda, then we'll go into the song and wrap it up, folks. I love seeing all your faces. Great to see you. And I look forward to seeing you in person in Denver. Linda, we were newly reunited and found ourselves in a pandemic when we discovered Happy Hour by NAAP, hosted by the strong, dynamic, and kind Marcie Keithley. Marcie and her team gathered folks from every aspect of adoption who spoke of their true lived experiences. We were fascinated and hooked. As we laughed and cried through those happy hours, we learned about this community and ourselves. I will be forever grateful for those Friday evenings where we learned how to walk out of the fog and cope in this adoption land, to finally feel seen and feel heard, and to value and understand the need for this community that gets it. Thank you, Marcie, with much, much appreciation and love, Linda.
Thank you, Linda. Love you, girl. Oh. Yeah, you know what? And we got to do our signature round of applause for all of us. So let's all get our hands up for our signature round of applause that we do.
Nice. Love it. Love it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so please don't go away. If you'll indulge me just for a few moments, I'm really big on music, but that's going to start that. We've got to stop the recording. Can I see to do this? Let's see.